Ice Spice was born Isis Gatson on January 1st, 2000 to a half Dominican and half black family in the Bronx of New York. Now, her parents originally met at a cross-section of the neighborhood where she would spend her childhood, more specifically at the Fordham Road and Davidson Avenue, right besides a good old-fashioned local McDonald's. When asked how that particular section of the Bronx came to shape her life, well, Isis insinuated that she wouldn't be who she is today without being a resident of New York City. She told Girls United, "I feel like New York, it influenced my tone and just my everyday experience, being on the train, commuting, just dealing with people and neighbors that live around me. I feel the type of things that I've seen growing up definitely shaped how I view the world." Now, unfortunately, she wouldn't get to share these early days with a complete family unit. I'm guessing the McRib, it went out and the whole family fell apart. I'm just guessing.
You got a point there, mother.
Now, instead, her parents, well, they split when she was still quite young, but since they lived on the same block, well, Isis, she would travel back and forth between their apartment buildings on a regular basis. So she'd spend half the time with her mom and a Beulah in one apartment and the other half with her father and her grandmother in another.
How was your upbringing like, being from the Bronx?
It was lit. I mean, it's hectic. Right now it's hectic, so yeah, but it was fun though.
Now, of course, the Bronx, well, it can be a pretty volatile place for kids, and growing up in its tough streets, well, it taught Isis 4 important rules. 1, mind your business, stay on your toes, don't be flashy, and last but not least, well, you gotta be tough, especially if you're all by yourself. Now, having learned these lessons early on, more often than not, well, Isis would spend the majority of her days indoors, where she immersed herself in television and YouTube while daydreaming of one day becoming famous. Congratulations, Ice Spice, here you are. Now, initially, she didn't know if she was going to be an actress or even potentially a poet, as she loved to write poetry from the time she was only a child. Now, when it came time to school, well, Isis began her education attending elementary in the Bronx. Now, during her high school days, well, her parents, they decided to send her to a Catholic institution in Yonkers known as Sacred Heart, which isn't all that far from the borough she was raised in. Now, they did so because they hoped for a better environment, to provide Isis with a bit more structure. I guess when everything's falling apart, you're looking for the church to kind of help you out. My parents did that to me. Anyway, now it was during this period of her life that, 2 important things happened. Now, first, Isis, she started using part of the nickname we know her by today, which is Ice, and she came by that moniker pretty naturally after all. Her first name, it's Isis, so her family and her friends, well, they just started calling her Ice for short, especially after 9/11. I can only imagine.
No, God!
Now, a couple of years later, when she was attending Purchase College, well, she added Spice to complete the name of her alter ego on her Instagram profile. But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves from where we're at in this story. Because the second important thing that Isis discovered in high school was that she was extremely gifted at the sport of volleyball. Yeah. Now, thanks to her natural athletic ability, well, she wound up earning herself a place on the college squad as well. But after playing the sport throughout her freshman year, well, Ice eventually grew bored and decided to look for something else to do with herself. Hey, get your mind out of the gutter. She was looking for something else to do that was, what's the word? Not perverted. She contemplated heading off to beauty school, but she never wound up committing to that path. Now, instead, she'd wind up achieving her goal of becoming famous, just not as an actress like she had originally intended. Instead, she became the Bronx's hottest new rapper. Now, the one thing I haven't talked about yet when it comes to Ice Spice's past is the fact that her father, well, he was originally somewhat of an underground rapper, which means a lot of her musical ability, well, it comes to her quite naturally.
Has this been like a lot to take in? Because it's kind of come on pretty quickly for you since you dropped like Name of Love and everything. Like it's kind of just been happening. Everything's been happening really fast.
Yeah, but I've been like manifesting everything that's happening now.
Okay.
So like I've been expecting it. Like it is happening pretty fast, but I've been expecting it. So for me, it's like finally.
And sure, when people discover that Ice's dad used to be in the biz, well, they tend to start throwing out buzzwords like industry plants. But the truth is that as much as Ice loved her father, well, it was other rappers that really inspired her to follow her path. In fact, she explained to Girls United, the first time I remembered really being in love with it myself, based on my own memory, is 7 or 8 years old. I had to be 7 to be honest. I remember listening to Nicki Minaj. I remember Lil Kim being around, hearing her and Jay-Z. I'm from the Bronx, so music's always playing really loud. Now, while being a huge fan of mainstream artists like Nicki Minaj and Drake, well, it wasn't until Ice heard the drill beats of New York City artist Chef G and the late great Pop Smoke that she decided to try her own hand at crafting music. In fact, Chef G's seminal track, No Suburban, well, it was the first drill track that she'd ever heard. Now, after discovering that style, well, Ice Spice, she realized that drill music, it was her future. But it wouldn't be until she met her good friend and future producer, Riot, that she actually attempted to mount a career in it. Now, with both of these two hailing from the Bronx, well, they immediately hit it off, and Riot began sending her the beats he was working on to see if any of them interested her. Now, one of those beats was what would eventually become Bully, and Ice, well, she just couldn't get enough of it.
I feel like it's just best to lock in, you know, like with a producer and like build your own sound. Cause I mean, no shade, but everybody be getting beats off YouTube. So it's like, you know, it kind of feels good when everybody's like, yo, where can I find the instrumental? Like, where can I find it? And you can't.
Now, right around the same time, well, Ice, she took part in the Erica Banks Busted Challenge on TikTok, and she found her short clip going wildly viral online to like 1 million views, and we all know why. Recognizing that now was the time to strike while the iron was hot, well, in March of 2021, Ice finally hit the booth where she laid down some vocals over top of Riot's Bully beat for what would become her very first song ever. Working closely alongside her friend, well, these two, they got the track finished in just 1 week, and then they dropped it later that month. Now, since then, these two frequent collaborators, they've dropped 4 further tracks together, and they've picked up a considerable amount of buzz along the way. Now, at the tail end of 2021, well, Ice Spice, she dropped her first music video to the track No Clarity. Now, shortly thereafter, well, she'd head off on tour with other artists like Tusi and Dusty Locane, after the former hit her up on Instagram just asking her to join in. Now, it wasn't until 2022 that Ice Spice would really turn up the heat. Now, that's when she dropped further hit songs like Name of Love, Euphoric, and her sensational freestyle from On the Radar. Now, that last one right there, it earned her so much attention that even Drake took a moment out of his busy schedule to slide into her DMs and tell her how much she enjoyed it, while also inviting her and her day ones to come hang out with him at a concert in Toronto.
Drake? Drake?
You know what that means, eh? You dirty dog. Now, that got people wondering if Ice Spice would soon become the next member of the OVO roster, especially after she dropped her breakthrough hit. We're talking Munch. Feeling you. I gotta apologize to our host Clyde. He's really hoping to munch Ice Spice himself, and I'm sure he wanted to host this update. But you know, your old boy McCrudden's got work to do. I gotta show up once in a while.
And for the record, I would still eat it for lunch. I'm gonna regret saying that, aren't I?
Now, just a few weeks later, well, Ice would find herself back in Toronto, twerking away in front of a massive crowd of very excited fans at this summer's Rolling Loud Festival. There were bullets flying, but hey, it was a good time had by most. But then came a plot twist. Now, over recent days, it's become apparent that Drake, he's no longer following Ice Spice on Instagram at all. He wiped her name clean from his social media profiles. Something tells me Sophie was like, I smell spice, and it ain't me. You know, the Sophie, the mom? Anyway. Now, no one knows why Drake decided to ice out the Ice Spice, but maybe it's something to do with her reportedly entering into a relationship with Stranger Things stars Caleb McLaughlin. Yeah, the two have been spotted in public a few different times, including most recently at a party Cardi B threw in New York City. Caleb McLaughlin and Ice Spice, who saw that coming? Not me. Maybe even I got a shot. Now, surely Drake, he wouldn't be that petty though, would he? Then again, it would also have something to do with the rumors that Ice Spice, well, she's now pricing herself out of her former status and associations. She's allegedly demanding as much as $15,000 per performance, and she's dropping a tour alongside B Love after her many breakthrough moments. Well, they've escalated her career to new heights as of this summer. Hey, when you're regularly clocking in around 2 million monthly listeners on Spotify alone, and as Fat Joe would say, yesterday's price is not today's price. And Ice Spice, well, she has every right to ensure that she's cashing in on her fame when it matters most. As for where she goes from here next, well, I guess that'll be another story for another time, because this is an updated episode of Before They're Famous. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning into this video. Please take a moment to let us know your thoughts about Ice Spice's story in the comments down below. Let us know if you like the fact that we just jumped into it rather than, you know, doing the whole intro before. And Ice Spice, if you're watching this video, my God, you are red hot. So red hot, I had to come back on the main channel just to talk about you. All right, see you guys in another video. Boom!